Welcome back, everybody. Dren608 here. This is the next turn in the unconditional surrender solo campaign mode that I'm going through. Sort of highlighting the CUCU strategy, affectionately known as CUCU. Stands for Cripple UK Collapse the USSR, which I have done as the Axis. We are in February of 1944. The weather is severe in the cold zone and severe in the mild zone, which is good for the Axis because that means that slows down any Soviet advances, and very little chance of invasions going off with a pour in the warm zone. So we'll have a turn here to kind of consolidate things. The West probably isn't going to be doing much. So let's go ahead and get into this. Like I said, I'm Dren608. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up button. That's important to YouTube's algorithms for people searching for it and for how it tells whether videos are worthwhile to be on YouTube. If you really like what you see, go ahead and subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, or hit the notify bell or whatever it is on the YouTube channels. And you'll be notified whenever I'm scheduling another stream. Sorry, this one's starting about an hour late. I had some other real-life things I had to take care of. So with that in mind, we'll just get started here. See if we can get through this turn fairly quickly. Depending on how fast I get through February, I might even try to sneak in March here as well. It depends on the weather. Okay, so we're at the declaration of war phase. All we have left is Greece, Portugal, Sweden, and Vichy, France. From the Axis point of view, there is absolutely no reason to bring in more Western allies. There is no diplomacy phase. So let the West, do any declarations of war that they want to do. Greece, I think, is not pro-allied. Portugal is. I'm just not set up to do it. I need to defend now with the Axis forever. So till the end of the game, the Axis is pretty much on the defensive. They can be sort of semi-offensive when it comes to, trying to limit what the Allies can do in their half of the turn. So the Axis is not going to declare war. As a matter of fact, going forward, I probably will skip the declaration of war phase for them. The West may think about doing it, but they're certainly not going to do it in severe weather. Maybe in the summer months, depending on where I'm at in North Africa, I might do something there. So the West isn't doing it, and the Soviets, certainly none of these people are close enough for the Soviets to even bother with. So we skipped that. Now the Axis can transfer production points. The Italians are already down a will point because they lost an infantry unit with this whole breakout of the British in the Suez area. So I am going to give them a point. I had 36. I think 35 is going to be enough. If you look over here, Yugoslavia has 2, Turkey 3, Spain 3, because the Allies own Tangier. Romania only has 1, but with severe weather, I don't see the Romanians getting into any major combat, so I don't see a reason to give 1 to them. The Italians will give an extra point just because they might have to move either an extra unit or try to get their fleets, up to snuff, so to speak. I don't even know where my fleets are now. Where are the Italian fleets? Here's one. Here's the first fleet. There's the second convoy. Where the heck's this? Oh, the second fleet is in Gibraltar. So I might need to replenish some of these if I'm end up getting into some combats. And if not, I do have several. This allows me to move up to 4 Italians and still be able to do both convoys in the airplane. So that's the idea behind all that. The Finns are not really in severe weather again. That's the thing here. Severe weather, there's not going to be any invasions in Norway. Severe weather, there's not going to be any real push by the Soviets. They might push a hex or something here with a lucky die roll split, but they're not going to eliminate any Finns, so I don't see any reason. I see no reason to be moving Finns, so I'm not going to give them one. So we're done. Now we're in strategic combat. The Germans are at 2 lost factories. If you were with me last time, the Germans had 2 really good die rolls die roll splits, so they got back both their factories. The Soviets, we need to go check on when they're going to get their partisans back. Okay, they used a partisans last turn, and it's not going to come back till June. Which is fair weather, which is when partisans are really most effective. So I am going to try to chip away at the British. Did I get any bombed markers in Germany? I think I only got one bombed marker in Germany. So the fight against the Axis in strategic warfare here, I got 2 bombed markers. So the West's going to be +4 to, I think, the Germans +6, I think they are. And right now it's +4 to +3. And the Germans are going to have submarines to use to recoup anything I do with the partisans, so I'm not going to spend the partisans here. I want to try and set it up to where the Germans have used their submarines, and then I can do a double hit and hit them for 2 factories. So I'm going to just hang on to the partisans. And the Germans, by the same logic, they're only down 2 factories. If they lose one to the Soviet, another one to the Soviets, they can throw their submarines to get it back down to 2. So they're not going to commit either. So off we go. And the Germans actually went down to 1. Now we're in the West. The Germans are going to save their subs because they're only down 1 factory. Even if they go up to 2, it won't hurt them. The West can't really do much with this Ultra. If you look at the turn track, this is one of the things you have to kind of keep track of. Is on the turn track, when are you getting? I get my Ultra back in May. My free forces and partisans are in June. I'm just building up American armies right now, trying to get them, onto the continent, or I can actually start thinking about threatening the invasion of France, where the Germans will be set up for it before I can get there, obviously. So, yeah. West is at 0. I'm not going to see another Ultra for a very long time. The Axis is going to get submarines in April. So, I think I am going to take a shot at it just to try and... Yeah, that's tough. Actually, I think I'm just... Yeah, no, I'm going to leave it alone. For the same reason, we're both at 1s, and I don't see a really good chance of chipping the Germans. Even if I do, they'll just get it back next turn. So we're not going to commit either here. Keep those things. And everybody stayed at 1. So the Germans will be at maximum build next turn, which is 14 plus 5, 19. They'll be at 38. The Soviets will be at 5, 10, 19, will be at 38. And the West will be at 7, 8, 9, 10, 16. They'll be at 32 next turn. So, just like they are this turn. So, the Brits have some leeway here. We do have our surprise attack marker coming back for the British. Americans will get another one in March, and I think they have one on the table. They have one here, but being severe where it counts in the mild and the cold zones, not likely for very much to happen here. So, onwards. Strategic movement with the Axis. Now, if I remember right, over here in the Soviet Union, the Axis did a pretty good job of, or the Soviets did a job of pushing a little bit, especially up here in the north, where they made sort of a 1 hex advance down the line. From a strategic move standpoint, I had moved this armored unit here, and I was thinking that I wanted to get... This is the quandary I'm in with the Italians. I can try to defend where I'm at, but I have absolutely no air power. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can't really afford to put the Italian Air Force into North Africa, because it's already got 4 sorties. And it's poor weather down here, so they're only going to get 1 attack. So I think I'm going to just stand my ground there. Now, Fortunately for me, the British don't have anything on ports that can actually pull off an invasion. This guy's off a port, this guy's off a port, this guy's off a port. So I don't have to really worry about like a surprise invasion to Tobruk to cut off the armored unit, because nobody's in position to do that. Even the Malta garrison can't get there. So it's 1-2, so you can only get to like Benghazi. So I think I'm okay there. The British Med Fleet probably is going to start ending up being based in Alexandria, so I'm probably going to have to move the fleet and the convoy to like Benghazi just so I don't have to go as far for my supply. Yeah, things are not really good here on the supply front for the Italians. They got to supply 3 units in North Africa for sure. Probably want to supply 4 if they can, because make the invasion of Tripoli from Malta tougher. So Italy is probably going to start losing North Africa here. The British have to recoup their airplane a bit and push these Turks out because they really want to get to Jerusalem, and if at all possible, get over here to where I can cut off the Turks that are in Kuwait. So it'll be easy to go down there and grab them by summer of 44 so that they don't get the +2 for Basra and Kuwait. And the Turks just want to delay me from getting up here and conquering Turkey. So, man, I really don't see a good strategic move over here. I have to start seriously thinking about Western Allied invasions to northern Italy. But so what it comes down to is I need to make sure that they can't make huge breakouts. So I think what I'm going to do, yeah, I want to move this guy because I want to flip this guy here. The 8th, I'm going to want to flip him over. And then the 7th is going to get down here to help bolster up the south. Probably the 8th will go and bolster up the north, maybe. Do I have a strategic move? I think what I'm going to do, I mean, if the Western Allies really want to play in the Med and use up their surprise attack markers down here, it's much farther away from Germany than going into France or the Low Countries or even Norway. So I'm going to take this Yugoslav. I still have one that's sitting in Yugoslavia, so he'll be the garrison forever. I can't go into Italy, but I can take him and like drop him. Where was it? Oh, drop him back here. I think. Trying to remember where it was I was going to put him. Yeah, we'll put him there. See if that's a good move or not. Might change my mind next turn, depending on the weather. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do there. The West doesn't really have a good strategic move here. So this guy's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got 2 convoys to do my bidding. So I'm pretty okay there. I don't have any threat of invading to Kuwait and Basra this turn. And I'm going to be spending my time trying to rebuild my stuff as much as possible. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot going on. I don't want to give up this position because he does have a German infantry over here that could just walk across to Tangier and or the Spanish. So until I'm actually going to use this Canadian in some invasion, whether it's at Palermo or declare war on Vichy and go into Marseille or invade around the corner, try and conquer Spain in one turn or something, I think that I really don't have a strategic move at this point. Well, I could get this. I could move the first, but the Americans are free anyway. Yeah, I don't see one for the West either. For the Soviets, I mean, everything's pretty much at the front line, right? So there's no point in there. So I don't see one for the Soviets. So we're into the German action subphase. It is severe, so I think I'll let him push me a hex if he needs to. Is that British? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could attack with the armored unit to force him to use up an airplane, so I don't get the +4 to +3. This guy is the one that's in trouble. So the idea is to cut off the British from being able to advance too far if they break this guy out. So I think what we're going to do is this garrison's going to go here. And this Turk's going to actually go here. And the Germans are going to go ahead and attack here. +4 to +3 with 7 movement points remaining. What's the combat results table look like? He has a 1 in 36 chance of getting a DD. And if I throw in an airplane, I have no chance of getting an AA, but he only has a 3 in 36 chance of getting a retreat, and he gets to attack again. So I think I'm going to take a chance and just let him go. Probably the wrong thing to do, but I'm going to take a chance. And then we commit no events, and rolled well enough that it was no effect. The Germans will attack again. Same logic. And the Germans can do it one more time. And we finally got an AS on them. Okay. So they moved a little bit further. What's nice here is if the British do decide to try and take an attack, I can retreat across here to this space right here, which is all escarpments. And then you have to push me out in order to get by me to cut me off, because it's 1, 2 to here. And you got to push me out of that space to get me going. All right. I'll leave the Italians because we're in poor weather. See right here, there's this little dotted line going right along down here. So up in here, it's all poor weather. So I'm not too worried about him pulling off anything in French North Africa or Spain. And it's severe all up in here. I'm trying to entice the Allies to invade as far away from Germany as possible. So I'm going to take this armored unit. I'm going to put him in Brussels, so that if he does come across to the north, my armored units should be able to get to proper places to defend themselves. Now, I was thinking about this. Normally, I would just retreat this German aircraft and rebuild it. But right now, this British bomber command's at -4. He's got a whole lot of bombers. And while I have a lot of fighters, I don't necessarily have enough fighters. To stop him everywhere that I'd like to, especially in severe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the 4th Luft here, and he's going to go hit Bomber Command. Now you notice Bomber Command is only -3, even though he has -4 sorties, because you get +2 for Battle of Britain. It really should be, that phrase really should change from Battle of Britain to +2 for radar or something. But, so +2 for Battle of Britain, -4 for sorties, and -2 for the bomber, but he's +3, so he's actually only a -3, but we're halved, and I'm -2.5. So we're going to get, if you look at the combat results table, the math is it's automatically 1 sortie each, no matter what you roll. 6-1 split, still 1 sortie split. And then we'll do it again, just to take one of his bombers out of commission, okay? Because trying to stop them as they come in here to Germany, we're going to have like 1 attack, maybe 2 interception attacks. So he's going to get at least 1, maybe 2 bombers in. And there isn't a lot I can do about it. I don't think he'll get all 5 in, but he might. Now, this particular sort of operational tactical thing, something I have a vassal game going where the German player is doing something similar to this. Ultimately, we are looking at if the West brings all their air power to bear in England, in other words, to bring back those British airplanes and all the American airplanes, they'll have 6 fighters and 3 bombers. They'll have 9 aircraft. In the German case, we're going to try to have at least 5, if not 6 aircraft facing off against them, so that any kind of invasion, we can wear down their air force and possibly kick them back off the continent. We do have surprise attack marker. I don't think we have the airborne marker anymore, do we? Yes. And we will have the airdrop marker back. So if I may, just for illustrative purposes, show you a typical Allied invasion and the German response to it. See if it works in both cases. Okay. So that's this over here. So that's sort of like the periphery stuff. We've got ourselves set up probably as good as we're going to be set up for now. Now we have to go over here and we have to remember that we need to leave probably about 21 points for, because we have 7 aircraft, a convoy, that's 24. So we kind of got to look at what do we need to do here on the Eastern Front. First off, we need to get this guy moving, I think, up to the north. This guy needs to get moving to the south. What we're going to do is we're going to put him here. Actually, I think we're going to move the other guy towards the south as well. Yeah, all he can do is retreat me here. He might be able to get a couple of good retreats and Kharkov will be cut off. But at this point, I don't mind losing a German army here and there if it slows down the Russian advance in the poor weather. so that by the time he gets to fair weather, I have a fairly solid line, and the advantage that the West has done is they are drawing off an armored unit into the Middle East, because usually there's 2 to 3 armored in the West and 2 to 3 and the other remaining armor are in the East. And right now there's the 5th German armor is not there to balance whichever front needs it. So these guys are kind of on their own. The reason why I send this, I think I'm just going to stay there. The reason why I'm sending this infantry up here is because the shortest route to Germany is through this, the Baltic states and eastern Poland, and yeah, there's lots of garbagey terrain, but a surprise attack marker will take care of most of that. And so this is the shortest route to Germany. So this is the route I want to slow him down on and keep him at bay as long as possible. If I have to give up, all the way back to the Romanian border in the summer of '44, I'm fine with that. Like I said, the idea here is to keep the Soviets on their side of the line for as long as possible. I can give up a couple hexes a turn here, like 1 hex in the poor weather and then a couple hexes each turn. I could still end up in Bessarabia, up through the swamps and through Vilnius, Kaunas, and Vilnius, Riga, hopefully, but maybe it'll be as far back as Kaunas and this area, trying to hold the Duna for as long as possible. The idea is, if I can keep the Soviets over here until the summer of '44, way back here, then by the fall of '44, you want to have the Russians on the other side of this little dotted line, this weather line here. If you can keep the Soviets on that side of the line, then October and November means they have very little likelihood of getting a fair weather turn. And then you'll be December through April, they will not get any fair weather turns on that side of the line. So if you can keep them over there, you've got a really good position. That's going to be very hard for the Soviets with only 1 or 2 fair weather turns in '44 or '45 to actually break through and get all the way to Germany. And with the amount of willpower I have, 79 points, they're going to have to take all the cities. So the Allies have a really hard road to go. I've got 27. I have nothing to build. So at 27, I have, assuming I'm going to have to do all my airplanes. So let's assume the worst. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 airplanes and a convoy. So that's 8 times 3 is 24. This guy makes 25. So I technically could move 2 more units. I really don't see a good move with it being severe weather for 2 more units. Everyone's kind of where they need to be. So I think we're just going to call it a turn. The axis is done. And I'm going to go ahead and skip the declaration of war phase because there's no way I want to declare war on anything. So, let's do all the land guys first. And we can do the ones that we know we're going to keep at limited supply. Ooh, that's what I was going to do. Can I undo this and still do the Italian Navy move? Yes, I can. Okay, get this guy out. There was one other thing that I was going to do. I just talked about it earlier. I'm going to go ahead and put them over here. The reason being, if he does decide to, base med fleet here in Alexandria, it can get one interception on my supply run through C-Zone 24. He's going to have to commit more fleets, which is problematic because he has to supply through that side of the med. I mean, he could possibly throw an American fleet into Malta or something, but that's why this airplane is there, is to negate anything in the central Mediterranean from being an interception. That's why they want to take, well, even Algiers won't help them. They have to get all the way to Tunis to be able to place a unit over here, so then they can go boom, boom, and get intervention on the Italian army down here. At which point, the Italian army will probably just, bail and go to Italy to defend there. Same thing with that German armored unit. Try and get him to suicide on the British or something. Okay, now we'll pass. Sorry about that. Confirm. Yada yada yada. Supply all. Supply. No convoys. Come on, come on, come on. No convoys. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, the guy that's helping defend in Turkey, unfortunately, doesn't have a supply line through the Middle East anymore to the Italian convoys. So that might be a temptation for the Soviets. Again, it is a it's a game of gambits here. I'm almost let's see, is that everybody? 2, 2, and 1. Yeah. What I'm trying to do here is, okay, so there's the possibility of the Soviets going whole hog into Turkey. Okay, it's usually poor weather in Turkey through March, April. So if they want to spend their summer conquering Turkey, that's a couple of turns they aren't coming after Germany. Same thing with the thing in North Africa here. At some point, getting rid of the Italian presence is helpful, but ultimately you have to get to Germany. And running up the Italian boot is not a fun experience. It doesn't take a lot of resources to slow you down there. Running through Spain is the same kind of thing. Horrible terrain, rivers, mountains. It's a long slog, and we're running out of time as the Allies. And I don't have a presence in Norway, so I'm running out of options with Western allies. Okay. So with the West, I have to decide which way I want to go because my airplane can't really support an attack in both directions. So I'm thinking of going this way to try and get him to get Jerusalem. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to attack here. Throw a tank. So I'm +2 to his 0. He could throw a ground support. I am going to throw 1 here with the Germans, simply because I'm trying to make him use up his movement points to get to me. And we got a no effect, which is what I wanted. Now the British will attack again, use their tank again. This time I'm not going to use the ground support because the other one's going to be 4 turns away, and I might need it for the next defense or whatever. So we're just going to let him go at +2 to 0. and I rolled really well with the Turks, so the English aren't going anywhere. Now, with what I had talked about before, obviously the Med Fleet is going to go here and here so that I can start interdicting on Italian supply, force them to have to do escorts. I saved the German aircraft. I could go in at +1 to +1 one time. I don't think it's worth the points. So I have 2 convoys here. I have British convoys, or American convoys over here. So we're going to go ahead and have the Americans go ahead and do their assault here. Oops. Throw in their airplanes, so they're +1 to 0. The Italians don't see being attacked anywhere else, so they're going to go ahead and throw their tanks. It's +1 to +1. Confirm, commit. Nothing happens. Okay. So that was fruitless. See, we're in poor weather, so I need to get him down 1. And then hit him. All right, we're going to go do bombing commands, bombing runs, I should say. He has very few sorties, so we're going to go ahead and come to here, and go into Metz. Because why not? The Germans can hit me in severe weather. +2, -3 is a -1 net. -1 net is a 5 at best, which is half to 3. If you roll a 5, it becomes a 4 and becomes a 2. So the 3 can't really stop me. I'm going to use it for the lucky die roll, and if I don't get it, then I'll just be done with him. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit him with this aircraft so that even if he gets through, it's only 1 bombed marker. And I actually send him home. Okay, so I protected myself from there. And now this guy is going to do a bombing run. He's going to actually come in and go ahead and do Metz. So now this -4 guy, he's +2 for German, -4 for sorties, makes him a net -2. -2 on a die roll means best you can roll is a 4. We're in severe weather, so the best he can get is a 2 once he's halved. So there's no point in using any more sorties on him. This guy here is -2 for sorties, +2 for Germans. That makes him a 0. So he's got to roll a 5 or a 6 because you got to get a net 3 to stop the bomber. So we're just going to use him to see if we can knock this bomber out. And we did. So we sent him home. So we've defended there. The Americans are going to go ahead and still try to go back and hit Metz because now it's much less likely that he's going to get me. And the Germans, knowing that there's going to be likely poor weather and or severe weather for the next 2 or 3 months, are going to, I think they're just going to let that one go because they'll be at +4, 5, right? 2 for Zedon 2, 2 for Basra, and 1 for Norway. So they'll be at +5 to a +3. So they'll be at a net. They'll be net ahead. So yeah, I think they'll let it go. So we're just going to let that one go. And he gets a bombed marker off. And that's all we can do with the west there. We do know that we have... These guys will be built that turn. I want to get this guy down to 0. Force H probably needs to go somewhere else. Now the real problem is the nonsense that is down here. Fortunately, the American aircraft is within 7. So it's going to go ahead and hit that airplane, or that ship. All I'm trying to do is get 1 sortie on him, because then he'll be -2 in poor weather. Or he'll be a net -4 in poor weather, and can't touch my convoys. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit that, see if it works. I got what I wanted, so I'm done. And then in a similar fashion, the British air is going to work on the German air. It's the only real form of strategic combat I have on him, is to make him use up his sorties. I'm terrible, so this may not work, but yeah, I got an AS2. If I had gotten through the first one with only a 1-1, so that's not going to work. So I think we're done with the West. The only thing I have left is, do I want to bother to do this attack? I don't want to spend the points there. I want to try and replenish everything I can. Try and get my fleets up to full. Med Fleet can menace the Benghazi supply line. I really don't want to stick something in Malta. Any adventurism by the Italians to try and pull off some kind of invasion behind my lines here can be met by the American fleets and things here. So let's see, the Germans would be +2, -2, so it'd be 0, and then -2 net, +1. So there'll be a -1 if they want to try to intercept me. And do they have their surface? They do have their surface action marker. Okay, so I'll have to be escorting all my supply runs up there. All right, I think we're done. Yep, we're done with the West. Boom. How far am I? I'm still 45 minutes in, so yep, we're not going to be... the West is not going to declare war on anything, I don't think. Not in March. Okay, so do the simple one first. Everybody that's in the major countries doesn't have to be supported there. All right, so yeah, we got to do our supply runs here. Use the convoy. Confirm the escort. Here. Eastern North America. Let's see, the Americans would be +2, -2 for sorties. They'd be at a -2. The aircraft would be at -1, and the surface fleet would be at -1, and his convoys have tons of sorties. So I think it's better for me. I think it's better for me to just make him keep using up his fleets in escort from the economic standpoint. So we're going to say, okay, as long as you're escorting, we will let them go. The nice thing in the vassal module is that you can just say, that's what I'm going to do. As long as you escort, I won't intercept. And you can just go run the counters up. You don't actually have to do the traces. So we'll do this one. Same thing. Confirm the escort. valuable path. And again, the threatened being is more important than actually executing on it in this turn. Now, if he gets into, we get into March or April where it's likely to be fair in French North Africa, I might go ahead and try and use some of those sorties to mess him up so that his fleets are not as effective for any kind of invasions. But right now, we're not doing that. Escort this one. Go there. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. You know, if I threw everything in it, I could probably bounce that one, but then he'd just use the other convoy. So again, no, there's no reason to do this. And then once again, the airplane. Confirm the escort. And we're just going to and now I don't think I'll do any other interceptions. Those are the ones that I had to make sure I used escorts on everything. So see, once again, Port Zed's not being acknowledged as a port, which is very annoying that it won't recognize this port. So you actually have to do 2 units through that port by hand. I wish I could figure out how to get that fixed. Something about the programming. And I just don't have the time to go mess with the module. I have been told that I can get a copy of it and see if I can try and fix it, so to speak. I just haven't gotten there to being able to look at the programming. He'll go up to 2. Yeah, okay. So now we can just supply all, and we're done with the West. All right, now for the Soviets. With 38 points, I can't use any of my airplanes, so there's no need to save anything. So this is just going to be a whole series of can I take a hex moves? I guess is the best way to say it. So we're just going to try to push the Germans another set of hexes. So we're going to do a whole lot of assaults. We're going to assault this way, I think. So he'll start off. I'm +3 to his +2, and we're both halved. I'm not going to waste my heavy artillery in severe weather. So it's just going to be, do I get some die roll splits? Nope. Same thing's going to happen down here. Go here. And here. And here. We're going to end up the same way. +3 to +2. See if we get a die roll split. Nope. So we're going to try and push on Kharkov here. Oh, come on. Here. He'll go here. He'll go here. Again, +3 to +2. See if we get any lucky die roll splits. Nope. So if I really wanted to try and take these hexes, I could throw heavy artillery in, but there's no point here to doing that. It just doesn't serve any real purpose. We're going to go ahead and move this guy here. just so that we're done with that. 1, 2 minus 1, so be plus 1 to plus 2 half, not likely. I think I only have one more 3 hex attack where I get a slight edge here. 2, 3, 4. Well, let's see if maybe we can push the Italians. Get lucky there. So I'm at plus 1 to 0. See if I can get this one to move. No effect. Okay. It'll be plus 2 to plus 2 and halved, which means I need a huge split, but we'll go for it anyway. Because I really don't have a lot to do with my production points. Do I want to push that one or do I want to push this one? Interesting concept. The armor's only a plus 2 here. So if I were to go this way, since I'm only going to get a plus 2 to plus 2, it is February. Yeah, I think this one's more important. Well, what do I take it with, though? Whatever I take it with is going to be posed. Oh, worry about that when I get there. Plus 2 to plus 2. Do I get a split? Oh, didn't get a split. So then the other plus 2 to plus 2 is going to be here. Or do I want it to be up here? I think I want this one. If I get lucky and get a push. No, I don't want to do that. We'll see if we can push him another hex here. And no effect. So a whole lot of die rolls for nothing. There isn't a lot left for me to really do. I mean, my airplanes are all in pretty good positions. And I suppose I could attack at minus 1 to minus 2 and halved. I need like a 6-1 split. Yeah, I think I'm done. So a whole lot of nothing because of the severe weather. I had a few plus 1 advantages, but couldn't get splits. And then on the plus 2s to plus 2s, I didn't really expect anything to happen. You're just rolling for luck. As a Soviet player, remember that. Make sure you save enough to mess with any airplanes that you have. I just don't see any other. Well, I can do this attack here. This attack here might work. Let's try this one. I'll have the 2 shock armies. Try and do something. No effect. Okay. So all my attacks were basically no effects. All right. That's okay. The fact that I had to roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I rolled 7 times. I rolled 7 attacks. If even one of those gets me a split, I might have a move. Because like this guy here, if I had gotten this split and he has to retreat, so he's got to retreat, either here or here, his choice, doesn't matter. This armored unit, since it hasn't moved, and this armored unit, since it hasn't moved, can both move into these, the shock army move into one space, and armored unit will move into the other. Now I have I'm starting to form a bulge where he has to actually counter me. He has to do something about it. So for the Soviet player, and you're in this situation, and it looks like it's, how am I ever going to make headway against the Germans? It's roll the dice as many times as you possibly can at least even odds. It's +2/+2, +1/+0 against like an Italian or a garrison unit. It's fine. If you roll the die enough times, you will get a split. And all it takes is 2 or 3 splits in the right places. And all of a sudden, the German line has to retreat just to maintain its cohesiveness. Otherwise, you'll start surrounding them, and then they really will be eliminated. And while the Germans don't mind losing an army here or there, they can't lose a lot of them, and they can't let a hole form. So they will fall back a hex row to make the line straighter with reserves and so on in order to prevent that. That's the key. You're trying to force the Germans to retreat. If the Germans are stubborn and try to defend, then sooner or later you will get a flank on them, and then all of a sudden you'll just surround them. I had one person who was adamant about not letting me get off this line around Kharkov. They had like most of their army here and only a screening force to the north. So I put a bunch of, guards units and things, but my armor pretty much all went north. And we broke through the center and into the, Latvia, Lithuania, eastern Poland. And all of a sudden the German was like, my entire army is like 2 moves away from getting in between you and you running into Germany. So he had to move the whole German army, so I got all this space anyway, and I didn't have to fight for it. So in the way I'm defending with the Germans, it's basically they're going to be trying to turn the northern flank by turning the south. Okay? That's what I'm trying to do with the Germans. I'm trying to force the Soviets to go through the south because there's a lot more hexes that they have to cover before they actually threaten the northern position, and then I can withdraw into all this lovely garbagey terrain. Okay, enough of me jabbering. That's that. We're not going to do that, and Soviets aren't definitely not going to declare war. And we just supply everybody because nobody should be out of supply. Ta-da. I could have tried to make a silly attack down here, but it's severe weather, so I'd be -1 and halved against a 0 and halved. No, just doesn't seem to be worth it. So replacements for the Italians. I've got 13. Where's that? Where's that infantry? What's that? Is that an infantry I just built recently? Yeah, that's an infantry I built recently. I'm not worried about that right now. I definitely have to do the 2 convoys, right? Because I have to try and keep people in supply. I need to control the central med. And then, well, I'd like to threaten the north, like the Atlantic Ocean. I really think with the Med Fleet sitting over here that I'm going to have to be able to escort out of Benghazi, so I'm going to do the First Fleet instead. And that's it. I'm not going to flip over my infantry. Okay. Oh, that's what I was going to do with the Brits. Okay. Mistake for the British. Pay attention, folks. This dude here should have moved either to Suez or to Alexandria. Alexandria probably would be better, because Alexandria threatens an invasion to Rhodes or a 2 sea zone invasion to southern Italy. So he has to keep those things garrisoned. Since I have nothing there, or a quick invasion of Tobruk, because I didn't put somebody on a port, he doesn't have that threat anymore. So he doesn't have to worry about it. For the Germans, convoy first, because we know we want to do the convoy. We have 24 left and nothing to build, so just go down the line. Let's flip this guy over and go boom, 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 and boom. Okay, so what that leaves me with now is this airplane is at full, and I probably won't ever have to spend the 3 points there. I've got a 1, a 2, and a 0 here, and I think I have a 0 now down here at Cadiz. So I actually can do some serious threatening with just the German Air Force on bombing fleets and things to make supply difficult here. So that might be worth all of this nonsense. All right, so I'm done. We're going to do the easy stuff first. American, 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 USA, 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 USA. Yeah, that one I don't have to think about because they don't cost me anything. The British, they've got 30, so that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 3 is 18, 22. I think I can do them all. We'll do them in order. First, we're going to do all the convoys because they're the most important thing on my agenda. Then we're going to do this Air Force down here. We're going to do this Air Force over here. What have I got left? 12 and 3/4. So he's going to go, he's going to go, and he's going to go. So now my fleets are like all replenished except for the convoys. And my aircraft are, fighter commands at full. I've got my aircraft coming back. This is going to be a problem here, I think. But yeah, we're getting there. Soviets, definitely, and definitely, because they don't have anything to do with their points. They don't have anything left to build anymore. They have 1 upgrade left. The U.S. is going to be, they're not going to upgrade yet. They're going to save that till they can figure out where the upgrade's most useful. And then the USA is going to build his army there. And we're all done. We are now to the March 1944 turn. I've been at this a little over an hour, so we're going to stop here. Just takes an hour to move all the pieces. When you have other people doing it, they pretty much make all their plans ahead of time, and then when it's their turn, they just go bang, 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 and it goes a little faster when you play opposed, if you're both sitting at the table at the same time. So, yeah, there we go. We are now at March, looking at the weather. This does not bode well for the Axis. The Western Allies have gotten fair in the warm zone, which is French North Africa, and fair in the mild zone, which means a possible invasion, say at Bergen or something along those lines, which means the Germans are going to have to, or Trondheim, so the Germans are going to have to seriously think about who they're going to supply here in the north. This convoy can only really supply 2 sustainably. So now they have to think about where's the 1944 offensive going to come from. The West is already working through North Africa, and they're working out of the Middle East. So, again, the Axis kind of wants to keep them working on those extremes because it's far away from Germany. Norway is not. They don't have to worry about an early invasion of England, or of France rather, even though the Americans have 2 surprise attack markers. Because it is fair weather here, it will be poor next turn. But the only real viable invasion unit they have is the 1st Army. And the only place he can really invade is in here, which both panzers can contain and so on. And the Americans don't really have, the greatest of air forces committed to the European theater right now. So, yeah, it's something that I'm going to have to think about. What am I going to do with the West? Am I going to abandon North Africa altogether? And go straight for Europe? Am I going to try and do any shenanigans here to try and blow up the Italians? I'm not sure. Not sure what I'm going to do here. Okay, so we're going to leave it here. I am going to go ahead and save this. just saying the same thing. I don't know, I might save that again. That's... I don't know why it's still on 62. It should have changed the number. Okay, well, whatever. Saving the game because at some point here I will run out of time because I'm always on the clock, so no matter which side I'm moving, it's not keeping a separate timer for sides. It's just counting me since I'm the only player. And at a certain point it says you've been sitting here with an open game for too long. You're eating up resources on the server, and we're gonna shut you off. So if you're playing solo and you're doing like the main event like this, do save your game from time to time. I've been doing it every turn because I never know how long it's going to be before I can do another video. You might want to do it, at least every 4 or 5 turns if you take long spaces between playing again. Otherwise, the timer will time you out simply because you're eating up resources, and it looks to the computer like there's one player who's just not taking any turns. So they think the game is idle, even though things are progressing. If it sits too long, they'll think you're just not playing anymore, and they'll dump the game to free up resources for everybody else to play, which makes perfect sense. The only problem is that since this never switches off of my timer, that timer is for when I'm playing the Axis, when I'm playing the Western Allies, when I'm playing the Soviets. It's always my time. So that timer comes up to that point where they say you haven't done anything forever because they've never seen the timer switch, and then they'll kick my game off the server, and then I have to reload it. So that's why I'm saving them. All right. BGA is a wonderful platform for playing board games. They have tons of board games out there, Euro games, and all sorts of things. I think they just announced Catan, I think, is now on Board Game Arena. I'm really not sure, but check them out. The link should be in my description to go to Board Game Arena. It's free to join. You can support them, and then you don't have to deal with ads. It's one of those kinds of things. It's free with ads, or without ads. You can pay for a premium membership, and you get some certain games are only available by a premium membership, but that it really doesn't cost you that much, and it's worth it to get access to those games. Plus, if your favorite game is being developed or whatever, a lot of times you can get in on the beta testing, so that you can make sure that when it does hit Board Game Arena, that it'll be as good as it can be. So, highly recommend it for people who just, with the fallout of the pandemic and everything else, Board Game Arena has been a real godsend for a lot of people to be able to still do their social gaming just via online. And there's been some really great developers that have developed some really iconic games, and yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It is definitely a worthwhile platform. For war games like this, I'm not so sure. The developer of this game is probably I would say probably at least 1,000, maybe more hours into doing this because of the complexity of this. And this is considered a relatively simple war game. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this game. There's a lot of moving parts here that when you look at the rule book and actually do the mechanics on the board, it doesn't seem like it's that difficult. But when you have to program every one of those little interactions that a player is going to do with his hands on the board, it's a whole lot more difficult than you think. So my hat's off to Luna LOL. He's done a wonderful job here. There's still a few quirky things that, they're like fringe things that you're not, you don't get into them very often, but every once in a while it happens and you're like, what was that? And it's like, it's just something that can't be dealt with. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Not sure what my schedule is. I might be able to do some streaming over the July 4th weekend. I think I have some time off then. So I probably will do a little bit of streaming then. I'm probably going to do try and start up another video series or two on some other board games that you'll see me post up on my channel. So do subscribe and hit the notify button so you know what's going on. And yeah, until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.